لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Brothers and sisters, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us in the company of the righteous in this world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raise us amongst the righteous on the day of Qiyamah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fill our lives with mercy and rahmah, as all of us are in the need of the rahmah and the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, brothers and sisters, we are only a few days away from the blessed month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us barakah in this time, in our siha, in our health, in our iman, and allow us to witness the month of Ramadan. And not only allow us to witness the month of Ramadan, but to be able to spend the month of Ramadan in the best of the way. The hadith for tonight, as an inspiration and preparation for Ramadan, there's a hadith in Sunan at-Tirmidhi. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, there are three whose dua is not rejected. And before we get to this particular hadith, there is one thing that I want us to remember on dua in general. A lot of time people say, I make dua, Allah doesn't listen to us. Or I ask, but I never get. One thing to please remember, brothers and sisters, the hadith of Rasulullah mentions to us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts the dua and supplication of the people so long as he or she does not say Allah doesn't listen to me. So don't lose hope in your dua. That's number one thing. Do not lose hope when you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for dua. And then when you ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something, don't expect the exact results that you're looking for. Sometimes Allah will give you what you ask for, exactly what you asked for. Sometimes you may not get what you will ask, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in return will give you something better than what you ask, but we don't realize that at this moment. Sometimes we don't even realize. I want you to think about this in your own minds for a second, brothers and sisters. How many things that you have in your life that Allah gave you and you never asked for? Then why do I complain for the times when I asked for something and I didn't get? Only if I was as grateful as I am when I have something which I never asked for, right? You look into your life, I'll look into my own life. How many things that we have in our lives that we never asked Allah for, and He still gave us, right? So sometimes the result of that dua that I asked and I thought I never got, Allah already gave us. And sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps the reward of our du'as on the day of Qiyamah, where we will be told, you asked for this, O my servant. You asked for this, O my servant. You asked for this. And in exchange of not getting what you asked for, this is what you will get. And a person would wish and desire that they never had anything except because of the amount of generosity on the day of Qiyamah. But that's a side point. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his hadith in Surah Al-Tirmidhi mentioned that there are three whose dua is not rejected. Number one, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the fasting person until he opens his fast. So the month of Ramadan is not only a time of hunger and thirst, along with recitation of Quran and sadaqat and tasbih, but the month of Ramadan is the month of dua as well. And especially at the time of starting and finishing your fast. And even during the course of the time when you're feeling the pains of hunger during the course of the day and you're becoming thirsty, and now at that moment you raise your hands and you ask Allah for dua. Those are some of the greatest moments to ask Allah for dua. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that the dua of a person who's fasting is not rejected. And there are multiple hadith like this. But in this particular hadith, there are three that the Nabi of Allah mentioned. Fasting person until he opens the fast. Number two, a person who Allah has given the position of leadership and they are just. Adl. Having the authority and having adl, justice in their life. Because power makes an individual person unjust. You know, all the justice goes out the window when a power and strength comes to someone's hand. When you know that you can do anything and there's no accountability, then the fear of Allah, the consciousness of Allah, adl and justice completely leaves. The sense of accountability. So if Allah gave someone power and he or she is still just in their actions, their dua is not rejected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah gave you the strength, the power, but you are still careful and conscious of your decision, knowing that you need to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your dua is not rejected. Ask Allah and Allah will give you. And last but not least, the Nabi of Allah ﷺ mentioned, and the supplication of the madloom, the supplication of the oppressed. Sometimes you may not see those dua being answered right away, but know that those dua are being heard by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It may not be answered today, but the answer to those prayers and those tears and those cryings of those innocent individual will not be wasted in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They will be answered. So the dua of a Muslim. So this particular hadith reminds us, fasting person, so long as they don't open, until they open their fast, a person who is in a position of leadership and they're just, and a person who is oppressed. So as the month of Ramadan is coming, it's a great reminder for us, brothers and sisters, that along with all of our ibadat, let's increase a bit in our dua. Let's increase a bit in our dua. That takes some time every single day, especially the time of the opening of the fast. And my last point before I conclude, a lot of time we become so consumed and so busy in both preparing and looking at what we have to eat for iftar that we miss the opportunity of making dua. Did you make this? And we're running around and this and that. I want everything fresh on my table to open, and we have no time to make dua. Give your family some break as well. Give your household some break as well. Work with them a little bit beforehand so everything is prepared. So the last moments right before iftar is that not everyone is juggling and running around and preparing, but as a family, as a community, we are sitting together and asking Allah for dua. So we need to make these small changes. So inshallah, keep yourself engaged in dua, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our dua and our supplications and make this coming month of Ramadan productive and beneficial for all of us, inshallah. Subhanallah wa bihamdi, subhanakallah.